Welcome to today's Way Forward Workshop Leader Lunch Break, where we are thrilled to welcome Joshua Edmonds to the conversation. Joshua grew up in Cleveland, relying on the Cleveland Public Library for access to the internet. Today, he works tirelessly to ensure that digital access in the home is a right afforded to every young person and every resident of Cleveland. He took the reins as the CEO of DigitalC in November 2022, following a highly impactful tenure as the first director of digital inclusion for the city of Detroit. Among many accomplishments, there he established the city's first digital equity fund, the first municipal broadband plan, and raised well over $70 million for digital equity initiatives. That impact in Detroit was seeded by his education here in Cleveland. He secured a bachelor's degree at our own Notre Dame College, and upon completing his master's at Howard University, he served as a member of the inaugural Public Service Fellowship through the Cleveland Foundation, placed at Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority, and then was hired by the foundation as their Digital Innovation Fellow. In both of these roles, he worked with city and county leadership and philanthropy to ensure digital equity and to promote a countywide digital empowerment plan for public housing residents. Now, that work is his life's work, the work of providing digital access and equity as he addresses the challenges of one of the least connected cities in the country. It is appropriate that he is speaking to us in the week that we honor the work of Dr. Martin Luther King, because Joshua believes that DigitalC's programs and services are an extension of Dr. King's dream, the dream of equity. He leads Cleveland's digital civil rights movement. Within DigitalC, he's committed to driving results and building a familial culture that wins. And I know he has some very exciting developments to share with us today. Joshua, I turn the conversation to you.
Oh my gosh, what an introduction. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank the Cleveland Leadership Center for having me. This is, many of you all know on the Cleveland Leadership Center staff that it's a full circle moment for me as I participated in you all's iCleveland program over a decade ago. And so I am thankful and a benefactor of you all's leadership as well. So a lot of those accomplishments, you all get to claim stake in those too. But, for the participants, I do want to highlight that not only am I going to do a presentation for you all today, but I am local, I am available, I am here. So if for anyone, if you had to start out at anything, just remember we're at 69th and Euclid at the Midtown Tech Hive. That's where our offices are. That's where we are headquartered. And that is a co-working space. And so for folks who also want to see me in person at some point, come down to 69th and Euclid. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk you all through some of these exciting developments because yes, they are absolutely exciting. One second. So first and foremost, as I look at DigitalC, you are going to see this logo here. And normally I would not be highlighting a logo. Sorry, I'm trying to get this Zoom to cooperate with me. All right. Normally I wouldn't be highlighting a logo, but in this case, I do need to highlight this because this is a product of a rebrand. And all the way from the all caps that you're seeing in front of you and this phrase, driven to connect, that is something that we are actually putting center to the mission of DigitalC. So we are a full-fledged internet service provider. Sorry if you're going to hear the drilling in the background. That just means that we're at work. But the drilling in the background is just, we made an expansion within our office recently. But we are a full-fledged nonprofit technology social enterprise. What I mean by that is we file as a 501c3. That is our mission to bridge Cleveland's digital divide for good. However, at the same time, we're a social enterprise in the sense that we are developing an enterprise-grade product that absolutely can compete with the best as it relates to internet service. And so as we're looking at being a mission-focused business, we're scaling and growing from our nonprofit roots to actually looking at even interlaying some of what you might see in a corporate or for-profit entity. So we have the heart and soul of a nonprofit, but we have the ability to execute like a for-profit. And that's where the social enterprise comes into play. Now, as we look at the journey of DigitalC, so in 2015, we were incorporated as a nonprofit. And at that time, we were focusing on connecting the unconnected. And I can say at that time, because I was also working with DigitalC at that time as well. So being CEO of DigitalC is a full circle moment for me because I was there since the beginning or the inception of the company. However, in 2017, that's when we started providing Wi-Fi. Now, many people in our telecommunications field will tell you there's a really big difference between Wi-Fi and home internet. There are. So the Wi-Fi networks we're deploying were very similar to what you might find in an airport. If you go somewhere, you see a public Wi-Fi network. And then we graduated over time to becoming what you see as a WISP or a wireless internet service provider. So in 2019, we did that. Then obviously the pandemic, that you don't see, is 2020, because during that time, we had rapid growth. We connected our first customer in 2019, and then through the pandemic, we were able to expand our coverage. And now in 2023, or well, in 2022, in 2024, we've been able to now embark on a new journey. This new journey is us taking all the lessons that we learned from the past and actually deploying what we would refer to as a state-of-the-art network. And we're not saying that euphemistically. It absolutely is state-of-the-art, and I can explain more of the technology at a later date. Now, you can ask, what's the why behind what we do? Honestly, when we take a really nuanced approach towards equity, and as mentioned that we are right around the time of Dr. King's birthday, we look at the call for equity and see technology is the last frontier in our society as it relates to inequality as well as opportunity. As you all are seeing the advancements of AI, the advancements even in telecommunications infrastructure, there's always going to be people, if we're not nuanced and intentional in the way that we operate, there's always going to be people who are going to be left behind. And so DigitalC takes that as an obligatory responsibility to reaching back and ensuring that no resident is left behind. And that starts with the internet. So the map that you are seeing in the background is actually a map that looks at the least connected areas within the county and the region. And what we're going to find, and this same map would exist if you went to Baltimore, Detroit, to Philly, or really any big city, you're going to find that folks who are living at or below or adjacent to the poverty line are also going to see that inequity manifest within their internet access. And so this is something that we've been very forthright in addressing as relates to expanding affordable, reliable home internet, because that is what is required for us to reverse this clock on equity. So as we talk about deploying a premier state-of-the-art network for good, that for good is meant to be double speak in the sense that, yes, we're doing it for good and that it's the good or right thing to do, but we're also doing it for good as in perpetuity. And the reason why we're saying that is you can't have home internet for 5 years and then year 6 you don't have a solution. You're not solving anything at that point. At that point, the only thing you're doing is addressing the digital divide. You're not eradicating it. You're not bridging it. You need to do it for good. If there is always going to be people who need affordable internet, then you're going to need to be able to deploy a legacy product that will last for good, but it will also be for good. Now, when we say our next generation technology, I'm going to do this slide in the reverse. I'm going to start at the bottom. Built for Cleveland by Cleveland. I have the distinct pleasure, not only am I a resident of the city of Cleveland, over half of the organization at DigitalC, we're residents of the city of Cleveland. So we believe in Cleveland. We are all in on Cleveland. And so it's an honor for us to be the only internet provider headquartered in Cleveland, where over half our team lives in Cleveland, that we can say, truly, this was built for Cleveland by Cleveland. However, one of the things I want to highlight when we talk about our groundbreaking solution, that 100 megabits per second, most of your companies you're going to see, they're not going to be deploying what we refer to as symmetrical service. So 100, that's symmetrical. You're going to see in many cases, you might see 100 or 200 or 300 download and maybe 10 or 20 upload. The reason why this is significant of what we're doing as symmetrical is because when you have an upload speed that is equal to your download speed, that then is setting up the next generation of entrepreneurs or people who are working from home who can then upload content. So that way we're not just consuming content. So we're building the network for Clevelanders to not only be consumers, but also producers. We believe the internet experience should correspond to that. And so the infrastructure we're deploying, it truly is first of its kind. And so this is a hybrid network. This is the most technical I'm going to get, where we are combining fiber optic cabling that's already deployed throughout the city, and we are then building towers and deploying our wireless service as well. So this is a hybrid network. And so for anyone who will say things about wireless and, they can say whatever, it's like, well, we are a hybrid network. We use the best of both. And the other part of this, as we talk about this hybrid network and its first of its kind technology, it's all for $18 a month. 18 is a lucky number for us because not only are we going to be deploying this citywide network in 18 months, we're going to be doing it for $18 a month. And for the people who might be a student in math or numerology, you'd realize that 18 times 12 is $216. So for the 216, $18 makes a whole lot of sense. Or you can boil it down and say it's 65 cents a day for your internet. Either way, what we're deploying here, it's special, it's unique, and it's intentional. And this is a moment, a legacy defining moment, not only for myself or the organization, but for the city of Cleveland too, and all of our partners who've been supporting us. And so the fact that we're not saying that we're going to do this in 5 years and 10 years, this is 18 months. And to be honest, I'm gonna say this caveat in front of you all. I know this is being recorded, but I'll do it anyway. It's 18 months or less. One of the things that they didn't cover in my bio is I also ran track and field. And so speed is the name of the game for me too. And so $18 or 18 months, that's the end point. We're going to do it faster. We're committed to doing it faster because one, my ego is forcing me to say that, but two, because we legitimately believe this is critical life-saving infrastructure. You all know that the internet, it's how we're even having this conversation today. It's how many of you all have received the jobs that you received, and these have been phenomenal careers. The internet has been that enabler. And so we don't benefit by way of, going at a pedestrian pace. Amp it up and get it done. And so prior to less than 18 months, that's the goal. And we absolutely believe we're going to crush that. And for $18 a month as well. So the service is live already in parts of Fairfax and Glenville. And so we're going to keep expanding that service. The reason why we started there was because we knew that there was a heavy tree canopy in Glenville. You all would be really aware of, Glenville or not. That's near the University Circle area, big trees. And so we went there on purpose because we knew that the internet needed to perform. And thankfully, it's performing incredibly well. We already have hundreds of residents who've already signed up in those specific neighborhoods. So we're thankful for that. We're going to keep expanding. Now, one thing that I want to highlight as we talk about creating a model here, there is not another DigitalC in the United States of America. And that's both good and bad. The good part about it is, it makes us very exclusive, and Clevelanders get to benefit from a very exclusive offer. That doesn't happen too much in our city, and we know that. And so it's like, this is an exclusive offer. However, it's a bad thing because that means that as a country, we have a ways to go to establishing affordable, ubiquitous, reliable technology. Is that city. You have 32 cities, the NFL cities, though, these are cities of significance, to actually have a citywide affordable network. That does not happen. I cannot stress that enough. Typically, what would happen if we tried to do a DigitalC in another market, you would have your existing large internet providers who would just essentially lobby against them and not allow them to persist. But thankfully, there's more than enough opportunity and room in Cleveland. There's been some phenomenal partnerships and support. The Mandel, Meyer, and Nez foundations were really big supporters of DigitalC's mission and vision. They've invested a lot, as well as the state of Ohio and the city of Cleveland and city council. And so having that alignment from these funders and partners has actually allowed us to really create this model that allows people to see that Cleveland is taking this seriously. So Baltimore should, so Philly should, so Detroit should, so Miami should. All the cities I'm naming are actually some of the least connected cities in the country by way of the American Community Survey. And so when we look at a few of our brands that we're launching, and this is a great time for me to make a shameless plug, that January 26th, that is next Friday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., we are throwing a launch party. This is the spirit of product launches and stuff, Elon, we're looking at is actually launching these products. So at the very top left, Canopy. Canopy is the name of our internet service. That is the brand. Now, the reason why it's called Canopy is because when people had a lot to say about what our technology couldn't do, they weren't too educated on what our technology could and couldn't do. They kept saying DigitalC's technology cannot penetrate the tree canopy. And I'm like, not only can it penetrate the tree canopy, we'll take that one step further and we'll name our service Canopy just to show them that it can do that. And so there is absolutely a Cleveland underdog grit that we employ within our network and within our culture. And so Canopy is the name of our service, and we're really grateful to have that. The other one to the top right is Click. Click is the name of our digital literacy, skilling, and adoption work. Because we know that if we're going to give someone a license to drive and there's information superhighway, we need to make sure that they actually have the skills and the know-how to be able to drive it effectively. We want to make sure that people are protecting themselves online. Cleveland residents deserve to be protected online. And so what Click does is an entire curriculum of classes taught by community partners, digital literacy and digital skilling instructors, and digital navigators who are ensuring that Clevelanders can take full advantage of the next generation infrastructure that's being deployed. At the bottom left, the Midtown Tech Hive, that is actually our headquarters. And again, that's on 69th and Euclid. That spot is open up for business as it relates to even co-working, desk rentals, office spaces, even community events. We've even had family reunions in our space from people in the surrounding neighborhoods. We're adjacent to Huff. So it feels really great to be able to have our space being utilized by multiple community partners. And then the bottom right is the Hive Cafe. All these are near and dear to my heart, but that one's really near and dear to my heart because it's just phenomenal food. Today is cheeseburgers and fries and lamb chops. So we're really excited about having not only great food options and what formerly used to be a food desert. Where we are, there was not a whole lot of food options made available to Cleveland residents in the Midtown and Huff neighborhood. And so the fact that we do have a Dave's supermarket near us now, we do have the Cleveland Foundation, which has a Susanna Cafe now, but we also have the Hive Cafe. We're bringing options for not only healthy eating, but enriching foods that, it keeps people here. And, it might be interesting that I'm talking about food. Yes, it is a lunch hour, so maybe Freudian slip, but it's interesting that I'm talking about food. I'm talking about training, and I'm talking about co-working. What does that have to do with the internet? It has everything to do with the internet because that's people. All those things I named correspond to people, and our infrastructure that we're deploying, it's meeting people where they are. And so this is an extension of the infrastructure. So we're not just an internet service provider. We are all these other things as well. And we believe that's what Clevelanders deserve. And so we're building a product that people deserve, a product that essentially that Cleveland making change and taking care of one another, specifically within the context of Cleveland. And so, I know it's time for the discussion. However, what I do want to add, and I want to close with this, the service that we're deploying over these next 18 months or less, 18 months and less, this is a service that you don't have to qualify for. This isn't something to say that, oh, well, you got to be in some type of assistance program. No, it is $18 a month for everybody. Everybody in the city of Cleveland, this service was designed for you. And so as I am pushing that, a way that people can take advantage of this service, or even see if it's even in your area right now, you can call 216-777-3859. And I'll put that in the chat too. The reason why that number is important, the reason why I'm saying that, I didn't give you a 1-800 number to call. I gave you a 216 number to call. And not only is that 216 number corresponding to our call center, that call center is staffed locally by the Cleveland Site Center, also a nonprofit. And so this is something that we're showing that nonprofits can win in the city of Cleveland, nonprofits can deliver, and nonprofits can develop intentional strategies that can compete with the best. And so I'm thankful for, obviously, you all time and attention. And if nothing else, Friday, January 26th, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., come by and have a party. We're doing a full launch party, and we're thankful for the opportunity to share more about who we are and what we do.
Joshua, thank you so much. And we will be sure to share the link to that launch party in the follow-up email and encourage everyone to check it out. So let's jump into a few questions. So How are you getting out into the community and reaching neighbors who are in need of this service, but might not be aware that it exists?
So great question. We have a network of community partners. So not only are we, door knocking, I've actually done the door knocking in Glenville myself. So we have a team internally who will do door knocking, but we'll also work with did I stop sharing my screen? Oh, I did stop sharing my screen. Great. But not only are we working with a team of community partners, but we also work with our Cleveland City Council members. And they've made that very clear that, not only is their involvement at the council table, but their involvement throughout the neighborhoods. And so for us, we look at just, grassroots door knocking. That's been very effective for us, as well as we've been deploying flyers and materials. So we will do door knocking. We'll also even hang it in case someone doesn't open their door. We have some very intentional collateral that's been developed. We also geo-target the addresses that we can currently service. And I'm not going to say that we annoy people, but we are just very, very persistent with our outreach in the neighborhoods because we want people to take it. And one of the things that's happened as a result of that, as we've been connecting people, now all of a sudden the neighbors are starting to connect their neighbors. Neighbors are starting to reach out and say, hey, this was great for me. I'm sure it'll be great for you. We have collateral that's going to be being deployed up yard signs that's like, hey, I'm a DigitalC subscriber, so should you. Like there's things that we're just being very intentional about. And surprisingly, not surprisingly, I should say, but the media has been a really great help of ours too. As people are watching the news, we've had some pretty exciting announcements come through as of late. And that's also, got people to then either submit inquiries or just become customers of ours.
As you look ahead in the future, will there be opportunities to expand service to surrounding suburbs, especially the inner ring suburbs, so Bedford Heights, Maple Heights, East Cleveland?
Absolutely. So our veggie is Cleveland. We got to eat our veggies first. We're committed to Cleveland. However, we also know that a lot of Clevelanders, they frequent or they live or they formerly lived in Cleveland. Now they live in those areas, and we're a business and we're focusing on expansion as well. And so we know what we have in front of us, but we absolutely see the opportunities to expand, and the demand is there. The demand for affordable and superior internet, that's an ubiquitous demand, and we're thankful to be in the position where we can have a scaling and expansion conversation. So absolutely, yes, that is in the plans.
And how much does it cost to deploy a tower?
A lot. But I would say that it's variable costs. And the reason I'm saying it's variable costs is because it just depends on the area that we're deploying. So there might be a school. So when I say a tower, let me clarify. A tower and or a vertical asset, that could be us looking at an existing radio tower. So for example, if there's a cell tower in your neighborhood or one that's near there, we'll do what's called a co-locate. So we'll just go up there ourselves and we'll actually put our access point on that same tower, and that's us deploying a tower. Or it could be us going on top of a library or on top of a church or on top of, so honestly, it's a variable cost for us. But I think that the best way of looking at it is by any means necessary, we're going to find a way to connect someone, whether that's a church or that's going on an existing radio tower. We ourselves are not deploying actual radio towers. We're just going where there's already towers and then putting our equipment there and then paying a leasing fee or a rental fee. And in that case, you're paying like, either free or $500 to $700 a month.
Are there plans for businesses to access this, or can they make use of the same $18 a month plan as individuals?
So currently, the only way a business could access this is if they were a home-based business or an entrepreneur at home. And the reason why this is developed as a residential product, when we get into commercial internet, how telecommunications works is you'll have your residential internet providers and your commercial internet providers. And if you have the people who do both, you'll see it blank for business. And the reason why they do that is just businesses require additional infrastructure for us to actually make the deployment a success. And so in our immediate future, in the contract we received from the city of Cleveland, as well as the matching funding from the state of Ohio, that is for residents, because the residents were the ones on the wrong side of the digital divide. Businesses do need support, and we do see that as an endeavor that we'll undertake in the near future. But right now, our whole vision right now is really embodying and responding to the need of residents in their homes.
You mentioned the funding from both the city and the state. Can you speak a little bit more about that funding support and what might you still need to be able to reach your goal of doing this in less than 18 months?
So and I also thought there the funding from the Mandel and Myers Foundations as well. So they were actually the first group to commit funding to DigitalC, and that was a $20 million commitment they made because they believed that the digital divide needed to be eradicated in order for the city of Cleveland to progress. And as a result of that funding, we had also submitted the request for proposal response to the city of Cleveland, and that was a $20 million allocation out of their American Rescue Plan Act dollars. And that was money that was earmarked specifically for bridging Cleveland's digital divide. And how they formalized bridging the digital divide was an emphasis on training, an emphasis on infrastructure or affordable internet service. And so the city of Cleveland, within their contract, said $18 a month. That's the price point, as well as 100 by 100 symmetrical service. And so as part of that, there's a contractual obligation for DigitalC over the next 4 years to not only deploy the network in 18 months or less, but to sign up minimum 23,500 Cleveland households to this service. So in 4 years' time, 23,500, 18 months' time, the infrastructure, the state funding corresponds is just it's a matching grant to help us make us whole on this, because obviously we're doing a large capital investment of deploying citywide infrastructure. That is not a cheap cost by any means. In addition to that, we received a $3 million allocation from Senator Sherrod Brown and Congresswoman Chantel Brown to make us whole. So this is over a $50 million endeavor. As a nonprofit, the nonprofit in me says, oh, there's never enough money. And I would never say that was enough. No. But what I will say, for the goals that we've identified, it's absolutely enough for us to get the job done. But there's always room for fundraising, specifically as it relates to subsidies. You know, the service that we're deploying, for some of us, $18 sounds really affordable. For others, $18 is not even affordable still. And so in that regard, you know, we will continue to fundraise for subsidies, continue to fundraise for people to get computers and devices for them to be able to take full advantage of this network, as well as even for fundraising for tech support as well. So by any stretch, yes, the goals identified, we can accomplish it with the funding we have. But since we are a mission-based business with a strong intention on scaling, we are always going to be looking for opportunities to fundraise and even find, you know, donations from anybody, really. Again, the internet being $18 a month makes this very donation friendly. You can support an entire family's internet for $216.
So as you look ahead, what is your vision for the next 5 years with DigitalC, and how can those of us on the call support you in reaching that vision?
So over the next 5 years, I would say that the vision is to bridge the digital divide. I mean, that is the vision. This has been something that I've been focusing on. I you know, now I can say, oh, I'm dating myself. This is my life's work. I mean, this has been something that I've been passionate about for ever since I've had a professional career. And I would say that a Cleveland without this iteration of the digital divide is a Cleveland that is a bit of a promised land. And I absolutely believe, in the spirit of Martin Luther King, that we are on the cusp of reaching that promised land. And I would say that for the folks on the call, you know, be supportive. I mean, whether that's trying out our service, recommending the service, our biggest issue right now, it's awareness. In the past, you know, there might have been people worried about our product, and I can't really speak to that. But now what we're deploying, I can say, I can stand behind this product 100%, one, because I have to, and two, my face is on the collateral. So it's like, well, if that's the case, I'm standing behind this, but I need that awareness. You know, we don't have the benefit of having a massive marketing budget where I can be in everybody's face 24/7. We don't have that. We don't have the ability for people to be able to see the trees from the forest, who are dealing with so many other issues right now. And that's just the reality in Cleveland and beyond. And so what we need fans. We need people who are going to help push who we are, to make people aware. If we're doing events at the Tech Hive, show up. If you see stuff on social media, share it. If you know other groups that, like, hey, have you guys heard about this? Like, please be supportive. That type of stuff is going to make a difference, not only for our organization, but for the Cleveland residents who deserve this service, who desperately need this service.
Joshua, thank you. Thank you for the great work that you do every day and truly is your life's work. And I have no doubt that with your experience and with your dedication and clearly your passion, that you are going to ensure that Cleveland reaches that digital equity promised land. So thank you.